Ooh.
Yeah, I saw it as well, Billy. Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Toon Review for tonight's show. A lot to get into tonight, actually. There's a lot of stories kicking around there, which we'll obviously discuss right here on the channel. I'm joined tonight, as usual, by my right-hand man, Mr. Billy Trey. Good evening, bud.
Good evening. Good evening to the Toon Review Massive, the Magpie Massive, and the rest of outstanding, super magical, very funny people out there, including the Phantom one.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Indeed. If you do enjoy tonight's show, guys, as usual, please smash that like button for us. And of course, if you are new to the channel, do subscribe. And of course, join button means memberships. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, just hit that button. And of course, super chats are available, which is the $ at the bottom of the live chat. And that will guarantee your comment to be read out on the show as a thank you for super chatting. Well, Billy, where would you like to start tonight, mate? Because there's a lot to talk about.
I think there's a bit of a okay discussion going on about how truthful Fabrizio Romano is. I saw Keith Downey on Sky Sports News today. I also saw the Manchester United representative outside the ground, and neither of them mentioned Bruno Guimaraes as a Man United target. It's odd, isn't it? Yeah,
really strange. Very strange, isn't it? Listen, I think the Man United fan channels have been drumming this up. First of it was Tonali. If you can remember back to last week, Tonali was the main one that we're talking about, saying how good our midfield is going to be with Bruno Fernandes, yes, and Tonali playing together. Then that subsided, and then all of a sudden, it became Bruno. And Fabrizio Romano then started commenting that, this is going to happen. The representatives have been in touch, and personal terms had even been agreed, depending on who or what story you read. That isn't the case at all. Bruno's agent then came out, I think it was yesterday, didn't he, and just put a question mark on X. And that's a clear indication that the question mark means I have no idea where these stories are coming from. He couldn't be asked to get into it, and that's fair enough. He just basically put a question mark saying this is all a load of tosh. It's Man United fans in general on these channels have sort of drum it up as much as they can, where these fake stories. Now, I don't know where Fabrizio Romano's hearing these stories, to be honest. I don't know where he gets them from.
The Man United media circle.
Clearly. Or somebody's putting something in his pocket in order to try and drum up some interest. Bruno's going nowhere. I'm pretty confident of saying that he's actually going nowhere this summer. And I think Keith Downey said on Sky, didn't he, that out of the two of them, he would probably expect Tonali to leave.
Yeah.
We will come on to him in a minute. But there's just nothing in it. It's just a nothing story. And again, it's these entitled Manchester United fans who think they can just go and get anybody from any club they want. Look, they're a big, massive club, Man United, across the world. We know that. But some of these fans are still living in their previous history. They think it's the 90s. And it's not, Billy. It's not the 90s. They can still get players in, granted, because somehow they can pay the wages that don't affect PSR, but we know that's a load of bollocks as well. But the entitlement, it just makes you giggle now, doesn't it? It's just laughable.
Well, I remember when we bought Bruno from Lyon. PSG wanted him. He said under no circumstance was he going to play for another side in Ligue 1 because he was emotionally connected to Lyon. Now, I'm going to wager that he's more emotionally connected to Newcastle United than what he is towards the Lyon. Given he's captain, he's won trophies here, he's wrote his name down in the history books. You can see how much it means to him to play in the city. He's proud that his kids are Geordies. I'm going to say that he's probably more emotionally attached to Newcastle United than Lyon. There's no way in God's earth he joins Manchester United or another English club, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said this, and we've all said it on here, that if Bruno did leave and he went to a Real Madrid, etc., then we wish him well. There's nothing wrong with that. And I just can't believe that there's still this this entitlement with Manchester United fans. It just does not go away. And it's all right for them putting out. And look, we've been a big fan of Alice in the past, but she's been just as bad as the rest of them.
None of them any different, Paul. They're all the same.
Stop about Bruno Guimaraes, and it's not going to happen. And now they're kind of, pulling back in a little bit now because
they never wanted him. That'll be the next thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course it will. As soon as Newcastle, as soon as we as fan channels start bringing it up, you're guaranteed that they'll fire back and say, nah, we didn't want Bruno anyway. What's Bruno going to do to our team? Yet he's the best thing since sliced bread a couple of days ago. It's lunacy. Absolute lunacy. Trevor McDonald has been a member for 21 months. Thanks, Trev. And Salf says, guys, have you seen the rumours around Isak going to Barca? It's rubbish, of course, but hilarious seeing some of the Liverpool fan reactions. It serves them right. I've got no...
I think if Liverpool could recoup 100 million of the money, I think they'd sell him.
Do you know what? You might not be wrong, Billy. You might not be wrong. It'd be interesting to see if they did come in with a bid, what they would do. Because... we said it, didn't we say it when he left us and the way he left us? We said, the Liverpool fans were laughing at us and now we're laughing at them. And there's loads of things going around on social media saying free Isak, just like they did with us.
Barcelona have no money, do they? So they always find a way, don't they? No, they always find a way, so maybe they will. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's strange that, though, isn't it, Billy, how all these teams can find a way. You look at the Chelseas of the world and Manchester United's, they always seem to find a way. And fancy
giving Chelsea a punishment, by the way, just interjection here.
Mm-hmm.
They got done for financial irregularities and fined them for it. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. When everyone else got points deductions for their financial, I know it's not the same, but sneaking around, paying out of talks, payments to players to go there, potentially win a title or two. I don't know. I'm going to say that's just as bad as breaking PSR.
Well, what about 50 million Barcelona bid for Wissa?
I'd say 50 million fucking potatoes for him.
Yeah, I thought as much. Mr. Tonali, Billy. He's been announced as fit for Italy's game with Northern Ireland tomorrow. Where do you sit on this? Because I saw a lot of Newcastle fans saying they'd be really, really annoyed if he plays for Italy on Thursday and completely missed the derby. Where do you stand on it?
I think it's possible to be unfit for Sunday and then fit again for Wednesday. However, he was fit last Wednesday for the Barcelona game.
Yeah.
So I know he got a knock there, didn't he? But it's a quick recovery, really, to be honest, isn't it? Let's be honest. From what we thought he had, it's a quick recovery.
Well, let's not beat around the bush here, Billy. It happened to Gordon a few weeks ago as well, where he seemed he had a hamstring injury, but recovered in a couple of days.
Yeah, but that was more precaution, wasn't it? He just said he felt it tweak. He didn't want to wreck it and be out for how many weeks.
Well, yeah, it just seemed to happen when we were getting pummeled off Manchester City in the first half.
That is quite correct. That is quite correct.
But you know what? This is going to cause debate. There is going to be fans out there thinking that's not on that. He doesn't play in one of the biggest games of the season for us. But on the flip side of that, this is Italy. This is his country. This is a World Cup playoff. So, of course, he's going to do everything he can to represent his country in a World Cup playoff. He wants to be at the World Cup. And I think he wants to be in the window for the World Cup, to be honest, into the transfer window. Put himself out there, Billy, so to speak.
And so should we want him to be, because I think if he has a great World Cup, we get more money for him. If he's going to leave.
Look, I think we said last week, didn't we, that we thought Tonali was injured before that tackle actually came in because he didn't look like he was fit. And look, I don't know what conversations have gone on with Tonali and Eddie Howe. Maybe he's gone to Eddie and said, look, I don't feel up for this. Or the medical team has said he's not ready yet. Now, you're right in what you say. There's a few days between that now and playing for Italy. I'm not too sure that I'm going to go ballistic because he's playing for Italy. I understand.
Absolutely not.
when it comes to his country. And there will be people saying, yeah, but what about Newcastle? What about the loyalty to Newcastle and the loyalty that Newcastle have shown him over since he's joined us, of course, with the suspension and stuff. I don't think that's got anything to do with this, to be honest. I think this is just a guy who wasn't fit for Sunday, but has been on a recovery. You know, let's be honest. He's been on a recovery since last week. It's not Sunday where he started his recovery, so it's not from Sunday to Thursday. He's been recovering from the injury for a full week now. So, you know, I think people have been a little bit harsh when the...
I agree with that. I think it's harsh. But having said that, had we had a decent season, I don't think anyone would be questioning it. I think fans
I agree with that,
have a mistrust of some of the players now. And Sandro had that little spell, didn't he, between Christmas and New Year, and where he was dreadful. And then we had the agency stuff coming up, you know, about he wants to leave Arsenal, etc., etc. Then he suddenly picked up again, but again, we're back here again. I think fans have got a mistrust of the players because of what's happened this season. As a result of the performances. But I don't think you can really castigate him for being injured Sunday and not Wednesday. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen a lot of people saying I'm going to go fucking apeshit if he plays for Italy. I think a lot of us felt like that on Sunday, actually. A lot of us did feel like that on Sunday night, but I think that was just raw emotion of losing the derby. I don't think it had anything to do with Sandro in particular. Just sort of, you know, straight after that game, emotions are high, saying, oh, if Sandro turns out for Italy on Thursday, I'm going to go off it. It's understandable because everybody's like up a height and going crazy, the fact that we lost to Sunderland. But when the dust dies down on it, you look and think, well, hang on a minute, he has been in recovery for over a week now. And this is Italy we're talking about, being at the World Cup. You know, if Italy aren't at the World Cup, I mean, it's a complete failure, isn't it? I mean,
they haven't been the past two, so I mean, this is a massive one, isn't it?
Yeah, they cannot possibly miss out on 3 World Cups. I mean, that just would be unheard of. So I understand that. But what Tonali's got to do, Billy, is when he comes back and we get going again,
knuckle down. Absolutely.
He's got to knuckle down and we've got to see the very best of him. Because if he's going to do that for Italy, do it for Newcastle as well. And to be fair to Tonali, he's been playing well the last few weeks, hasn't he? He has sort of upped his game again. Maybe not to the peak that we've seen him, but certainly his game has gone up a level to what it was when you rightly said that his form went right down. But I don't see anything really in that. And I think there's a lot of people making more of it than what it actually is. Chip is with a super chat saying, thing I worry is 7 games left, then a World Cup. How many will bust a gut in the next 7 games, or will players be watching out to avoid injury? I think this is a conversation, Billy, that comes around every time. Yeah.
That's how you get injured, isn't it? When you
it is, of course it is. Yeah, if you're trying to avoid getting injured.
You've got to be 100% into any tackle, otherwise that's how you get yourself injured.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not mentally at it, you get injured. But I know I think this is a conversation that comes around every major tournament anyway, isn't it? Whether it's the Euros or the World Cup, there's always that bit at the end of the season saying, you know, are players going to put themselves at risk? But I think hopefully most of the players have the mindset of this is the bread and butter, this is club football, we need to give everything we can for the team. And if they do that, then 9 out of 10 times they avoid the injury anyway.
Yeah.
But it's when you switch off and you're not expecting a tackle, or you're half-arsed into a tackle, that's when you get injured. You know, these players are super fit, remember. It's not like they'll just, well, unless you're certain players, of course, that just seem to break down over nothing. But again, I think it's going to be a very interesting run-in for Newcastle for the rest of the season because of, obviously, the European places. And we have to try. It seems dead in the water right now, but you just don't know. And a lot of people are saying, you know, Eddie Howe is definitely a 1 game a week manager. I think Danny Murphy mentioned that this morning. He came out with some good points, to be fair to Danny Murphy this morning. And was starting to say that Eddie Howe is definitely better at a coaching level when it comes to 1 game a week. And Newcastle may benefit from that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and next season too, maybe. But that's not what. That's not what we're in for, is it?
Downer on that, Billy. Yeah.
But that's not. Any manager can manage one. Well, not any manager, but that's the difference between a good manager and an elite manager. Because elite ones can play 2 games a week and seemed to be able to rotate. It didn't rotate the first season we got into the Champions League. We were shit that year. And let's not forget the beginning of last season where we actually managed to make Champions League. We were getting results without playing well. We were short in most of the games the first, 6 weeks of the season, but managed to win games. So I mean, it's not all been candy, floss, and flowers. No way in God's earth, is it?
No,
he's had a lot of luck, and on some occasions he's come good with his tactics. But yeah, his reluctance to rotate and and basically rotation's a massive.
Well, we're going to talk in a minute about obviously the comments about Eddie's future, and also what Hairy Hands Keys decided to come out with yesterday. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think we just had another super chat in there from Ricky. Could get worse next season. We may get turned over by Sunderland and Borough. Imagine.
Oh, it gets worse for me.
Cov. I think they're going to win the league, by the way. So it looks like Coventry will be there as well. Jeff says, lots called up for England. They have to perform to go. Yeah. I mean, there's a few of them haven't gone yet. They've arranged with, I think that's a good thing, Billy. They've arranged, the FA have arranged with the clubs that a certain amount of players will go for the first game and then let home, and then a certain amount will go for the second game. So some people will stay for the full lot, but I think that's a good thing.
I think the ones that are playing European football, I think they're the ones that are split, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Or have been playing European football, and the ones, I don't know if there's anyone in the squad that doesn't play European football, to be honest.
Yeah.
But those, it's. I'm quite looking forward to the friendlies actually, but I don't know, maybe not.
Well, yeah, but it is
it's only from a Newcastle point of view, though.
Well, yes, but these are the last two before the World Cup, Billy. So it has sort of piqued a little bit of interest. There's a lot of people going to be doing watch-alongs and stuff. I think we are as well. So it's something to look forward to, and it's very close to the World Cup now, isn't it? And
when are the games?
Friday, I think, is England's game, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just double check that, Billy, because I don't want to say. It's Friday and then it not be Friday.
I hope it's Friday because I can't do Saturday because I'm watching the boxing.
No, it's not Saturday. Definitely not Saturday.
Good news.
Yeah, Friday, quarter 8 against Uruguay.
Oh, we'll do that one then.
And I think Uruguay is going to be that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, the likes of Ugarte and
yeah,
kicking people.
Absolutely. Right, but first of all, we have to talk. This is a little bit of a serious matter, to be honest, because I think everyone was astounded by this afternoon. There was something came out on social media regarding Kevin Keegan. Now, I don't know how many of you have actually seen this, but it actually stated that it quoted Kevin Keegan as saying, "I don't have long left, and I want a bit of privacy in my final days." It's complete nonsense. Pete Graves was one of the first to jump on that and say, that is absolute nonsense. Kevin has started his treatment and has responded really well to it. That was what Pete Graves said. Now, I'm sorry, but that is unacceptable. It's a disgrace to not just Kevin, but his family. 100%. To put something like that out, and of course it spreads like wildfire on social media, and the person responsible knows exactly what they were doing, because let's face it, they've done it many times before.
Clicks and likes, well, not
clicks
likes,
and likes,
clicks.
And it's. I think it's been taken down now, but that's not really the point. The point is,
that is clicks.
You simply cannot put something like that out on social media regarding a person, anybody actually, never mind the stature of Kevin Keegan, because you know what that's going to do. You know what reaction that's going to get. It's like, I first read it and didn't realize where it had come from. And I was like, oh my God, Kevin Keegan's only got a small time left. Mm. And I was generally gutted.
Your heart sinks when you read things.
Oh my God, absolutely. And then it was awful. And then luckily, he scrolled a bit further up and refreshed, and there's Pete Graves saying it's absolutely rubbish. It's a disgusting thing to say. Where is the respect for these families? I mean, it's all right criticising a football manager for the football and whatever's happening on the pitch or the players or the club. But this is something completely away from football. You just don't do that.
The same person, of course, invented a person to give him transfer rumours. And then when he was found out, because he posted himself in the same name, he said he died. He committed suicide. And then that's how low the bloke goes. He's had barbecues in Barcelona with Bruno and all sorts. We know who it is. Everyone in the chat who's been with us for a long time.
People know who it is, really. But I couldn't believe it, Billy. I was staggered.
But even he'd go that low, yeah.
Yeah, just the respect for Kevin and his family. I mean, can you imagine you're one of Kevin's family and you read that? Kevin's kept himself to himself going through this treatment that he's going through for cancer, right? And you're one of his friends or family and you read that? I mean, come on.
Scandalous.
I mean, I just stop, man. If you're incapable of getting likes and views for your product, don't put shit out like that because you look an absolute prick. It's disgraceful. And I know he's been hammered on social media for it, and rightly so. I like I say, it's all right criticising a manager or a player for not performing, but that's football, right? You don't go around saying things like, some of the personal abuse that Eddie's been getting. We've slammed that. It should never happen. You do not get personal. If you've got, yes, you can criticise and you can have a go saying he's not good enough for the job or whatever, but you don't get personal. But somebody who is going through cancer treatment to put that out? Are you kidding me? Disgrace, absolute disgrace. There's no coming back from that, in my opinion. That is just the lowest somebody can stoop. And I don't care where he heard it from. Unless you hear it from an official source, you do not put shit like that out. It's absolutely disgusting. Shame on him. Shame on him. And I know somebody will probably clip this and it'll get back to him and he'll kick off about it, but I don't think he's got a leg to stand on. No leg to stand on.
Wanker.
Disgraceful that he said that. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? By the way, again, massive best wishes to Kevin Keegan on his fight with cancer. And like I say, Pete Graves did say that he's responding well. Let's keep fingers crossed that he continues the fight. And
what? He's got the mental capacity to do it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
One thing Kevin Keegan always has been, ever since I first saw him play over 50 years ago, he's a little fighter, proper fighter. He don't give a shit about the odds against him either. I've seen him chin 6'6", 7.5 before. So absolute fighter.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, let's move on because I think that the next two subjects, Billy, kind of overlap each other. The future of Eddie and what the hierarchy have said, and of course that stupid report that Richard Keys put out yesterday regarding the sale of Newcastle United. We'll start off with Eddie. Obviously, the Craig Hope, who I've slammed on here, but he did make a good point yesterday that he said that the likes of Hopkinson and the people over here that are running the club are backing Eddie Howe. But the silence from Saudi is deafening from the PIF. They have come out in little drips and drabs and things like that, but they've never come out and swung either way in support or not support of the manager. So there was various reports yesterday, Billy, because I was looking through them before I did my video, and obviously it's a good topic to talk about when you're live as well, because you get the viewers' thoughts on it and things like that. And there was various reports. It was so conflicting yesterday because a lot of them were saying PIF, the owners, they give Eddie Howe their full backing. They're still behind him. They want him to transform the club in the summer, a rebuild, if you like. And I think the word rebuild is a little bit disappointing, if I'm only honest, because we're supposed to be in this process and having a rebuild already. That's not a good sign. But then you had other reports, Billy, saying that they're getting a bit fed up of the inconsistency this season.
Why wouldn't they be? As I've said, they're in it to be top dogs in European football. And we're nowhere near that at this precise moment in time. And at the minute, we're not even top dogs in the northeast of England. So if they are frustrated, I don't doubt it for a minute. They're going to be. But it seems like they've thrown all control to the club to people that are at the club, such as Hopkinson, before him, Eels, and they don't seem to get involved in that kind of thing, do they? Apart from when Amanda was here and she'd fly over and tell them that she wants this, she wants that. Seems like the Hopkinsons and the Eels of this world didn't do that, or didn't have the bottle to do it, or didn't have whatever. So they've kind of distanced themselves because either the people in charge at the club are too cowardly to approach them, or they've basically said, it's all yours, you deal with it, whatever happens, it's down to you. But I think we need, when the takeover happened, we were also pleased that they came on board, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't Amanda Staveley. We all know that. But once they came to the first game, was visible quite a lot the first season and the second season. Since then, it's been kind of drips and drabs, more drabs and drips, if I'm honest. And we haven't seen them since the cup final. Or did we see him last season? We may have seen him then as well.
I think he was there. Yeah. I think he might have been at a couple this year, but I'm not sure.
I don't remember him being in the crowd or anything. But if they have, they have. But
yeah, I mean, look, the lads. I said this last night. The lads at Loaded the other night put a really good clip out, Billy, of Eddie walking into the post-match press conference, just to start, before any words were said. That looked like a man who was ready to feel his collar, because he walked in and sort of forlorn, and how the reporters normally go up and they put the microphones and phones and stuff on the table, ready for him speaking. There wasn't any words. Normally there would be like, hi Eddie, and he's like all friendly, but it was like a mortuary, and it was Eddie who had to sort of push the hellos and things like that. And I genuinely think that when Eddie sat down there and he's seen how quiet it was, that's probably maybe when it really hit him about what's just happened on that football pitch and the consequences of it. Now, look, I don't know which way PIF are going with Eddie, but what I did say yesterday was that when people say that the reports say that PIF have not swayed in their support of Eddie Howe, you cannot tell me, right, that PIF will look at this season, and I'm talking mainly about the Premier League here, Billy. They cannot have not swayed at all. They must have swayed somewhere, because they cannot stay unaffected by what is happening. It just doesn't make sense.
It's been a really poor season, and from the highs of last season to, mid-table to me is a low. It really is, and I think it will be to PIF as well. They're expecting at the minimum top 6, and preferably a top 4 finish year in, year out. Especially as we did it without the side, without spending lots of money. And they'll be thinking to themselves, "Well, we spent a lot of money this summer. It's the most we spent in a summer's transfer window, and we're actually worse than what we were last year."
Yeah.
The book's got stuck with somebody. There was no sporting director, so surely that tells him it's down to the manager and his nephew, who was put in top scout at that time. It must do. And they must say, well, you've wasted £250 million. That's a lot of money to throw away. It may come good in the end. But I doubt it.
It doesn't look like it. I mean, look at it. I'm swinging my hips like Shakira. I think there's a lot of Newcastle fans been swinging the hips like Shakira. Do we want Eddie to stay? Do we not? Do we want him to stay? We've all been like that. And some people, like my esteemed colleague beside me, has stuck to his guns right from making his first decision on it. But
way before anyone else, by the way.
Yes, and you did get a lot of criticism for it. I did. But look, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is where this club is heading. And then Richard Keys comes out yesterday, Billy, with a comment that PIF are now looking to sell Newcastle United for £1 billion, I think it was, or something. I might be wrong with that amount, but look, whatever it was, he came out and said that. We've got another super chat in. Oh, sorry, Ian Fleming's gifted 5 memberships.
Well done, Ian.
Thank you so much, Ian. Really, really kind. Of course, one of our mods as well. Claggy Steak Bakes said at this stage, would Shepherd or Hall have sacked Eddie Howe?
I don't think Hall would have. I think Shepherd may have done.
Yeah. I think Hall would have backed him, but it's all hindsight, isn't it? But this report that came out yesterday is again an attempt, and of course, beIN Sports then took it on. But where beIN Sports located, Billy?
Qatar, I believe.
Exactly. And we know the differences over there that they've had in the past. Now, PIF have since come out and said no, but it's a load of rubbish. We're not selling Newcastle United. But I don't think PIF directly have said that. I think it's a spokesperson for PIF. What I want to see, Billy, is PIF make a fucking statement.
Yeah.
And whether it's bullshit or not.
Well, I think if someone offered them £1 billion, they'd sell like that.
I do?
I do, yeah, I do. They've got no chance of... They came in with the intention of spending as much money as it took to make us the best side in Europe. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the rules don't dictate that they can't do that. And so now they're left without any way of getting to where they want to be, without a bit of luck, you know? Without a lesser type situation happening, for instance.
Yeah, but these are clever businessmen, though, Billy, aren't they? You know, these are very clever people.
They are. Of course they are.
You know, surely they
will look at... in the world of commerce and science and fuel and stuff like that, football, I'm not so sure.
No, well, listen, we never know until they're making a proper statement, like a proper statement to the fans. Communicate with us. And look, people are going on about the war in the Middle East and stuff like that. We keep that out of it. You've still got communication devices that you can put out. Surely somebody like Hopkinson has been in touch with PIF and said, look, there's stories coming out that you're going to sell the club. I think we need to issue a statement to the fans. I mean, is that not the genuine thing you would do to put the fans' minds at rest?
Well, but we're hearing nothing. The Live Golf Tour continues. They've had another tournament last week in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not affecting that, why would it affect the Premier League? You know, I just think that they can't do what they wanted to do. Whether they were sold a dummy or what, I don't know.
With PIF then, Billy, do you genuinely believe there may be a little bit of truth in it that they are possibly, if somebody came along, that they would sell?
If someone offered them £1 billion, I think they'd think very, very seriously about it. And I think you'd be mad not to. You're tripling your money, aren't you? So why wouldn't you? In 4 years, I think you'd think about it.
Well, 300, 350 million, whatever they bought the club for, to 1 billion, that's a hell of a profit. Let's be honest.
Think about it, yeah. You're going to think about it, especially if there's no chance of them making it worth more than that, because they can't buy the place to do that. They're not allowed to invest properly. However, where my problem lies is, where's the training ground? Where's the statement about the new stadium? Why haven't we got training ground sponsorship for the kit? You know, new sponsorships of the shirts next year. That we get new ones next year. You know, they spent a lot of money as well.
They have, but I think it's when you hear Hopkinson come out and say things like 2030, then getting interviewed on Amazon just before the Barcelona game, saying that you know, everything's rosy in the garden. The plans are still going ahead. The training ground, the stadium, they are committed to making Newcastle United the best in the world. It's all right coming out and saying things like that. But this new stadium and training ground has been talked about since day one, by the way, of the takeover. It was always mentioned that and certainly I think PIF, when they bought the club, they'll have done their homework. They know that the training ground was way beyond any Premier League standard, and the stadium was fallen into disrepair. And they have spent money in the stadium. There's no doubt about that. They have improved certain things in the stadium, but I think what they can't do is get the revenue they want from that stadium. And I think Simon Jordan made a good point the other week when he said it's all right putting 10,000 seats into St James's Park. That's not going to change much for the revenue of the football club. What will change the revenue is basically build a new stadium, and it's everything that goes around with that. It's the infrastructure, it's everything they can put around the stadium, and it's also what they can then accommodate in that stadium when football isn't being played there. So you're talking boxing, pop concerts, WWE or stuff like that. Massive big revenue earners that St James's Park doesn't have it can't do because it hasn't got the infrastructure around the ground like a new football stadium would.
Yeah, it's going to spend a lot of money to get this new stadium up and running. Although they will get help from the government, of course they will, because it's a massive economical boost for the Northeast. So yeah, I mean, I think from the football side of things, they can't be satisfied with how it's gone. I think they expected to come in and by now. And the original talk was a 5-year plan, wasn't it? When Amanda first came in, that we'd be competing for all the trophies. And okay, this season we have competed for all the trophies, but it won't be next season.
I mean, I remember me and Dad, Billy. Me and Dad said that the 5-year plan, but he also said slow and steady.
He did,
and he didn't promise anything would happen in the click of a finger. Which is why I miss those guys so fucking much at this football club. Because I think that the day they left Newcastle United, Billy, it's all turned, it's gone backwards.
Well, if she's trying to buy into Spurs, as we're meant to believe she is, would you be satisfied with her getting another consortium together to buy the Saudis out and with the Rubens and her and Mehrdad and a new consortium? That'd work for me.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, Billy. I mean, I just think... I mean, look, the Saudis have put, I think it's about £2 billion into the football club since they've owned it, right? Which is, a staggering amount of money, let's be honest. But the $2 billion, we're still in the same situation with the training ground and the stadium.
And we're never going to get any more. Well, if they can improve the stadium and the training ground, they can do that. But from a side of improving, well, once you've done that, then you get more revenue, of course you do. But how long does this take? It takes 10, 15 years. To Billy, get the revenue where you can then spend the money, the equivalent of what Man United, Liverpool, Man City do. But that's if they stand still now. They're going to keep improving year on year as well. So you're never going to catch them, are you?
But where is the training ground sponsor? Where's the training shirt sponsor? You look around the Premier League, and even lower than the Premier League, by the way. Even the lower league teams have got training shirt sponsors and things like that. Sometimes it's their main sponsor on both shirts, but it's still sponsorship.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've got nothing, naming rights for the stadium and things like that, do what other clubs do to build that revenue up. I mean, look, we're sitting here talking about it. The PIF and Hopkinson, etc. This may be in the background going on. But it's the fact that they're not telling us anything. And I think looking at us as fans, we're the heartbeat of the football club at the end of the day. So we need to be kept up to date with what's going on. They're not at liberty to do it by any means, but they should be telling us what is going on. It's all right coming out and saying, we promise you this, we promise you that. But then when we're not seeing it, that puts the doubts in the heads. And of course, when you've got hairy hands like that, putting a story out, because he knows damn well how much that would take fire. He knows that he just has to say a couple of things, and it's reported, and it's all of this. The Saudis want out X, Y, Z.
You could easily add 2 and 2 together and get 5, because from the outside looking in, it don't look great, does it? There has been no communication. There has been no transparency. They haven't been able to spend the money they wanted to invest in the team. So you could believe it if you didn't know what the actual score is. But I don't know. I think I just need to be more visible. And once they get visible and see the fans and see the St James's Park on a more regular basis instead of by TV pictures or by visiting once a year, and hark at me saying this, then maybe they'll fall in love more with it, and maybe they'll find ways of doing it. We have to have a new stadium that gets 70,000 people minimum in. I'd say probably more than that. Then you increase your revenue by all sorts of reasons. Make yourself a global brand. Because if we're not playing Champions League or European football, this global brand nonsense is actually that nonsense.
Yeah,
nobody in Singapore going to watch us if they can't watch us play the Champions League. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the Premier League does go all over the world, but if you're not one of the big teams in the Premier League, you're not challenging at the right end of the Premier League. You don't get noticed. You don't become what the Liverpools and Man Uniteds have done in over the years. You don't get that in football. You have to be competing at the very top and in the very best competitions. And the Champions League is beamed all over the world. Everybody loves the Champions League.
Yep.
And I think not being in any European competition, never mind the Champions League, that is going to set things back a long way. Now, look, if they are the other question you've got is, you look at the signings that we made last summer, Billy, okay? And we all know that most of those have been a complete and utter fuck up, basically. There's no other word for it. Mm-hmm. You know, the Sunderland game was a perfect example of that, when you've got Voldemar playing in midfield when you paid a £70 million fee for him, and then he doesn't even attempt to play him for 5 or 10 minutes up front when we need a goal. And then you've got £55 million Wisser sitting on his arse, who, by the way, came on at half time to warm up and didn't want to know, which I think is disgusting. But then you kind of think, right, who is going to trust? Who do we put our trust in the summer to buy the right players this time? Because it's all right saying, oh, we're going to target such and such, but it's actually getting them. Because what's to say that, you know, some of the club's going to come in and say, well, we can offer you much better than this. We can offer better wages. We can offer you, European football. They're bigger pulls to players. So this is what I'm worried about as a fan, is where we go in the summer. Well, and if we stick with Eddie, who can he actually bring in?
Well, the PIF showed a massive show of support for Eddie, actually, by siding with him in the internal politics of the club, didn't they? You know, with Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell's an elite sporting director. Paul Mitchell could have brought us players that we could only dream about bringing into the club. And Eddie didn't want to play in the stand with him, as Stasso said. We've got another sporting director now. He's doing okay at Rangers, and he's got some good players in for Forest. Can he do the same for us? Well, we've got summer to see, haven't we? But if we go for another summer like we did last summer, with us kind of not getting things done early, and I don't think we'll get things done early, by the way, we're going to be in the same boat again, if not worse.
How can we not think that?
And for those people that are saying, fuck the PSR, we'll take the points deduction. Imagine if we did that this season. Just imagine. Take 9 points off our total now. You're banging this shit, aren't you?
Yeah, Billy, we all know that the powers that be are just waiting for Newcastle United to do that.
Of course they would. They'd give us a 12-point thing.
They'd give us more points deduction than anybody else.
Well, 12 is the maximum, but 12 where would we be now with 12 points, with 31 points and banging this shit? Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a massive risk doing anything like that, to be honest, and saying, oh, we'll take a points deduction, because like you say,
it's that squad value side, isn't it? So
yeah. So it is changing, but I don't think it's going to benefit us at all, Billy. I just think it'll stay the same. There's going to be no benefit to anybody bar the usual lot, and
it was never going to benefit Newcastle United or Aston Villa or Brighton or whoever you want to speak about.
Of course not. If I ask you a straightforward question, Billy, and please answer this in the chat as well, and this isn't to aggravate or anything like that. This is a general question to everybody in the chat as well. Do you trust Eddie Howe if he was given, I don't know, the old cliche, a war chest in the summer to revamp the squad? Do you trust him?
I don't think it's about him. I think it's about Ross Wilson this year.
But do you honestly think that, Billy, that Eddie Howe is just going to
have a say,
take a part role in it?
Of
because
course.
I am seeing a lot of people think that the influence is still there. Eddie's influence is still well and truly there, and that Ross Wilson was his idea.
Well, the two have got to work together, and then on both of their heads be it. If it was him on his own, absolutely not. I've got a little bit more time for someone else to put their two penny thing.
Yeah.
But if he's another Jason Tyndall, for instance, waste of time.
We've got to see something from them, like working together. We can't get to another end of a transfer window, Billy, and say, well, we had our targets, but they've gone elsewhere, and we suddenly, drift away again and sign players that really weren't even first, second, third, or fourth choice. That cannot happen again, and we certainly cannot have any rumours of infighting again with the powers that be, because that just can't happen. Because I tell you something, if that does happen again, Billy, this summer, then I'm pointing the finger without doubt at Eddie Howe, because how can you not when it happens time after time after time?
Well, yeah, I mean even with Dan Ashworth, we know that he jumped ship for a so-called bigger club. But I think if he'd have been made welcome at Newcastle United and had something to build on alongside the manager, maybe that wouldn't have even come into question.
Yeah.
So, we know he doesn't like sporting directors. We've had two, and two of the best in world football. and he didn't want to be. He couldn't play. He couldn't play fair with them. And at the end of the day, they were going to benefit his job. They were going to benefit his job. They were going to give him higher quality of players and make his job easier. You'd think. But if they had a different way of thinking about how the team plays, then maybe that's why Eddie Howe didn't want them in. And maybe Ross Wilson does go into the 4-3-3 athletic ahead of technicality side.
I mean, does it not worry you with the players that we're already linked with, Billy?
Absolutely. Yes, it does.
The likes of Solanke, Delap. I mean, Delap had a good season at Ipswich in a very struggling side, right?
Yep.
But I think he's shown how high he can go by what's happened to Chelsea. He's miles off it. He's absolutely miles off it.
But let's not forget that Voltemado, Wissa, lesser extent Wissa, weren't first choices for Eddie Howe, were they? He wanted the players that went to Liverpool and Man United.
Yeah.
So we couldn't compete with them financially. That's never going to change, though, is it? So it's always going to be fifth choice.
Spike says, there was no conflict with Ashworth. This is all fantasy. Ashworth wanted Eddie at Man United after he left.
I don't think so. They hated you. They were slagging each other off in press conferences, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether they patched it up. I don't know. Who knows? I do remember.
Not long before Don Ashworth left, Eddie Howe said something about him in a press conference. Something.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but I think I did hear somewhere that they wanted him at Man United, but I don't know. I don't know. Baz says Eddie has been told he has to change his football style to be more technical. That can't happen. It's not his style. So Eddie will buy players who are not technical. I think he has to have a bit of both in the squad, Billy. You've got to have the athletes because of the speed. You've got to have the athletes and the physicality, but you need technicians. You need technicians who can unlock the door when teams just come and play a low block. Because right now, every single manager that comes to St. James's Park, who are not obviously the Liverpools of the world, the Man Cities of the world and things like that sit in that low block, know that at the moment, Newcastle United are a one-trick pony and cannot break down a low block because they don't have the technical skills to do it. And they will catch Newcastle United at some point on a couple of breaks.
Yep.
It always happens. We've seen it so many times this season. So when you play a team full of athletes, yes, you're going to be able to play an intense press. But when it comes to actual football, there's nobody there to unlock the door.
No.
And we've seen it countless times this season.
Especially without Bruno.
Absolutely.
Bruno's not an athlete. Bruno is the technical one.
Mm.
Joe Linton's more of a battering ram. I wouldn't say he was an athlete either, but he's certainly not a technical player, but he's a battering ram. And Tonali he is athletic, but he sits too far back to get influenced in play. So once again, we're back to that question. We need a number 6 to allow Tonali to step forward, to allow Bruno to step forward and play our best side.
Yeah.
He's never wanted number 6 because he thinks we've got 3 of them or 4. At one point, he said more than that because we had Longstaff.
Yeah. I think basically everybody, Billy, is hoping that Nick Voldemar goes out there and gets a hat-trick for Germany in the cup, in the World Cup.
I'm sure
or in the friendlies, whatever they're playing. I think it's friendlies. Yeah, but just to see.
No, people say now we should break the bank. Harry Kane's got a release clause, 55 million.
55, yeah.
Do you spend it? Not as a Newcastle United fan, you don't, because he'd be the worst player we could buy for that money. Well, not the worst, because obviously we've got that already. But if there's one player that doesn't suit Newcastle United style with Eddie Howe in charge, it's Harry Kane. Technically fantastic. He does exactly what Voltemar does, but to a higher level. A better finisher. But he's as slow as
Harry Kane, you sign a Harry Kane, you build the team around him. It's as simple as that.
That's what he should have done with Voltemar.
Yeah, exactly. You get a Harry Kane and you make sure that he has players around him and he doesn't have to drop back too far. Listen, Harry Kane's an amazing passer of the ball as well. He's a fantastic footballer. I mean, if we signed Harry Kane, it would be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But you'd have to play and build a team around him. And I'm not sure
he wouldn't, but he wouldn't, would he?
Our manager is capable of doing that. And because of what's happened to Voldemar. Voldemar he's not blessed with pace. He's not blessed with physicality. But what he is a technician. He is a fantastic finisher. And he's proved that earlier on in the season. And I really, it annoys me. Watch Antonio Mango's video earlier today. Looks like they've realised that Mitchell was right. So they're looking at signing good players from abroad for less money. Yeah, we're going to get Antonio on the show, by the way. I've been in contact with Antonio, and we're just working out a time when he can come on and have a show with Antonio, because he's a great bloke. Great bloke, does great channel, and makes some really good points. It'd be great to get him on and see what he thinks of what's going to happen in the summer.
We've got the worst of both worlds, because we pay too much money for foreign signings.
I mean,
Baltimore went with £70 million in this situation, isn't it?
No. But this is the problem we're going to have, Billy. This is the problem we're going to have. You know, what do you do with Wissa? What on earth do you do with Johan Wissa? Because they'll look at it this season and think, you paid £55 million for this guy.
I think you need to give him another season. I think you need to give him a pre-season, get himself fit, proper, ready to go for next season. And just call this season a wipe-off. Yeah. We've got no choice, Because you can't sell him. Who's going to buy him?
You're right with that. But I think that injury has affected him a lot more than what we know. And it's the same with Lewis Miley.
It's a fair shout. Someone saying get him off to the Saudi League. Maybe. Maybe
a bit of inside job.
Well, not. But we didn't do it. We got under the odds for ASM. So, I mean, everyone were getting 40, 50 million for players who were past it. We sent our winger who was at peak and got less than what he was worth for him. I mean, again, that was something that was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Some super chats to go through. We've got Peter. There's been reports that the club may change Eddie's backroom staff rather than him. There is also reports that the owners want a review into Eddie Howe's position. It depends where you read, Peter. It really does depend who you read and what they say. There's so many conflicting reports. I just want the owners to come out and tell us, give us an idea of their direction for the summer onwards, because we're being kept in the dark. Spike's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Spike. American Magpies has consistently been in the Champions League. Builds your effing brand.
Absolutely.
Exactly. The Prince's Mate with a super chat. Thank you. Peter again says, my dad worked in Saudi for 10 years and apparently they don't make public statements. They have people do that for them.
Well, no one's doing it for them there, are they?
Yeah, we're not. I mean, if Hopkinson is that spokesperson, he's not doing a great job at it. He's just not. Prince's Mate says, sorry, meant to sub more, but first time on. Hey, don't worry about that.
Great name, that. The Prince's Mate. Of course, that conjures some things, doesn't it?
Let's avoid going into that, Billy. I think is best done. Keith says, the only way we can compete with the top half of the table and attract the players we need to get there is to build the bigger stadium. Greater revenue means we can buy and pay the wages.
Absolutely.
The thing is, Billy, you look at St James's Park, and I still go into that ground and I look around thinking, fucking hell, this is magnificent. From going there as a boy in the early 80s and looking at the Gallagher end and the stands literally fallen down in the Leazes End, the tiny little Leazes End, and you look at it now. But Keith's right. You build a new stadium, you build a state-of-the-art stadium, you build a state-of-the-art training ground. That will attract players, because players are going to come and say, yeah, this club means business and I want to be a part of it. No, we might not be in Europe for a season, but I want to be a part of it for the ongoing years.
No, you're missing the point. Stadium revenue is less than 10% of wages, but that's ticking. You think about sponsorships, things like that. When you get a brand new stadium, you get restaurants involved. It's a massive, massive new thing.
Restaurants, bars, hotels, all sorts around the ground, casinos. All linked. Hotels, exactly. And then you've got the events that happen out of season. You're still bringing millions of pounds in.
Yeah, it's a massive.
It's huge.
And then you get someone to sponsor the name of the stadium, and that's another.
And you get massive money for that, exactly. Andy says, Howe just needs to go, man. You can't get booed off the pitch after your second feckless derby loss and expect to stay. It's really embarrassing. John says, Kane is not super fast either, but has brains.
I'd say Nick does. Nick's the same.
Of course, Nick's the same. He's got a very good footballing brain. But
Nick's exactly the same, except he's younger.
The problem is people have already made their mind up on Nick Voldemar because of what's happened to him.
Yeah.
He's been so disgracefully used this season.
Well, I would say the exact same thing would have happened to Harry Kane had he come to Newcastle United.
You think you would have put Kane in midfield?
At some point, yeah. Because you got Harry Kane, you watch him. He drops deep, plays a fantastic ball, then doesn't get into the box, does he? I mean, he gets into the box more than Nick Voldemar does, but...
Well, he scored nigh on 40-odd goals again this seseason, Billy. I mean,
he has indeed.
Yeah. Jared says, did you guys see Danny Murphy's comments on Talk Sport? Think he's spot on. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, Jared. Undoubtedly, normally I think he talks a load of waffle, by the way, but he did actually make some very, very good points. But look, there's a lot of questions that need answering here, and we as fans, I guess we deserve them answers, because if Eddie is staying, what are PIF going to do to support him? What is the plan moving into next season to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because we cannot afford to keep finishing mid-table in the Premier League, then one season up in the European football, next season back in mid-table again. That cannot keep happening, because it will not generate what we need to generate to be where Hopkinson claims we're going to be in 4.5 years' time.
Well, we need to keep our cards close to our chest as well, because everyone in the world knew we were after. And then the clubs just jumped in and gazumptuous for them. So yeah, we're going to have to be a bit more private in the way we do things, and so that means we don't hear anything. Which, if we end up with the players, I'm not worried about that. We'll still be rumours, of course we will. But everything was done wrong last summer. Everyone knew we were after, and we were so obviously turned down by a number of players. So it was embarrassing to a certain extent. It just showed us where we are in the food chain, and that's not in that top six.
Yeah.
I say top six. It's not a top six because Spurs are in it.
Well, yeah. Susan says he put Voldemar in midfield due to the squad. At pre-season on grass, he will use him properly, in my opinion. Well, I hope he's on grass and not concrete, Susan. That'll do his ankles no good. Look, I agree with that.
I want to see him up front against Crystal Palace. That's all I want to see him up front.
There is players there that can play midfield. There is good news on Fabian Schär, by the way, Billy. It looks like he's going to be back after the international break, and bloody hell, that couldn't have come at a better time given what's happened to Botman. So great news on him, but also hopefully Bruno back and Miley as well. That will give us a really solid squad going into the final few weeks.
Yeah, we've missed Miley, we've missed Bruno, no doubt about that. We've missed Schär as well. The amount of football that poor old Malik Chow's played because we had no one else to play there. It's good that they're coming back at the same time. It's just a shame we've missed them for so long this season, because I think if we played Sunderland with Bruno in the side, I think we win the game already, to be honest. Because he wouldn't allow players to perform like that.
Well, that's it. He's a leader, isn't he? And I mean,
not at home anyway. I mean, I know he did it away, but that was down to the way we played the game. We were negative in the tactics, weren't we?
Yeah. But by the way, there was a comment came out today that somebody accused me of getting paid by the cartel to disrupt Newcastle United. I just want to put those rumours to bed while we're putting all the other rumours to bed. That is that is very untrue, guys. That has not and will not happen.
And at the same token, I'm not a fucking brummie either.
yeah. Billy's not a brummie, but we certainly are not paid to cause disruption at Newcastle United. And if anybody thought that, then dear God, we are Newcastle United through and through, and we will never change on this channel. We criticize when criticism is due. We praise when praise is due. That's just all about it. I mean, it's amazing. So, So I'm not getting paid by the cartel to disrupt Newcastle, and Billy is not a brummie. But there you are. Anyway, that is it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, thank you for all your contributions. We really do appreciate it. And of course, to the mods and to Billy, thank you. But as usual, the main thank you to you guys out there. Don't forget, you can visit thetoonreview.com for all your merchandise. We're going to start putting some blogs on there as well. I'm in discussions to try and start putting some Newcastle United blogs on the website as well for people to have a read about, which will be great. But there's some awesome Toon Review merchandise on there, so get yourself on there if you fancy getting something to support the channel that way. Of course, don't forget, before you leave, please hit that like button. It is so important to the channel to make sure that the algorithm sends us out into the world of YouTube. And of course, don't forget, if you are new, please do subscribe to the Toon Review YouTube channel. Let's keep this community building as it is as we head towards 50k. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again very soon. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Come back and check out the